Would you rather be black and live to be 100, or white and live to be 50?
More than 111 years ago to this day marks one of the worst days in East Texas history. The black community in Slocum was gunned down and murdered. Many who survived fled to nearby towns, leaving behind their homes and their livelihoods.
In the summer of 1910, an entire community in East Texas was erased. Not by accident, not by nature, but by design. Slocum, Texas was a rural farming community in Anderson County. By 1910, it was home to a large number of African American families, many of them descendants of formerly enslaved people who had settled the land after emancipation. These families owned property, they farmed, they built schools and churches, and in East Texas, black land ownership was seen as a threat.
In the early 1900s, Jack Hawley was a successful businessman, which is not easy for someone enslaved until they were 19.
He started using his skills and his talents to make money for himself instead of the European, structure of chattel slavery. And so he did that just a bit too well. He owned a general store, a granary, a dairy.
The exact spark that ignited the violence in Slocum has never been agreed upon. Some accounts point to a dispute involving a debt. Others describe tension over a roadwork assignment, where a black man was placed in a position of authority. What mattered was not what actually happened, but what white residents believed happened. Rumors spread quickly, and in 1910 Texas, rumors about black resistance were often treated as justification for deadly force.
And what was happening at that time is there had been some minor squabbles, minor disputes over contract, over positions, and those had been escalated into stories that African Americans were meeting en masse at night in crowds of 200 or more, and that they were planning on attacking or massacring all the whites.
And so this was the squabbles you were talking about were between whites and African Americans?
Correct.
Okay.
And so that escalated into almost a viral fake news story that really got all the residents paranoid for no reason at all. And once they became paranoid, they started bordering up the schools and having the children and the women go into churches and barricade themselves in.
Were these whites or just whites and
just
blacks?
The whites.
Okay.
And the whites would then go off to the local general store and buy up all the ammunition.
On July 29th, 1910, armed white mobs began moving through Slocum and the surrounding countryside. Some were local residents. Others came from nearby towns. They carried rifles, pistols, and shotguns. They fired into homes. They chased people into the woods. Survivors later recalled family members being shot as they ran, killed not for fighting back, but for trying to escape. There was no organized black uprising.
Do we know how many were killed, or is it kind of difficult
So
to
it's
pick?
13 confirmed, but what you have to understand is that the town was surrounded by marshland, and where the majority of the confirmed bodies were found were as they were leaving into the marshes, being shot in the back like animals with their packets or with whatever goods they had in their hands by their sides.
What stands out for me in some sense is that the sheriff and the prosecuting attorney in that area at the time, they actually filed charges and actually arrested some people.
Correct. And knowing that they would probably be acquitted before a replacement judge and before a jury of their peers, the judge at that time actually held them without bail with the purpose of at least trying to have some semblance of a punishment. Mm-hmm. And of course that being held without bail was overturned on appeal, and once that was done, the limited time they served was the time they spent in jail.
11 white men were arrested in the aftermath of the massacre. 7 were indicted. None were convicted. The case was moved out of the county, delayed, and quietly abandoned. Years later, a courthouse fire destroyed key records, erasing much of the official paper trail. What happens in Slocum was not a failure of justice. It was justice functioning exactly as it was designed to in Jim Crow Texas. For decades, the Slocum Massacre was absent from Texas textbooks. It was not taught in schools. It was rarely acknowledged by local officials. Some residents denied it happened at all. Silence became another layer of violence, one that extended far beyond 1910. But descendants of the victims refused to let the story disappear. They collected oral histories. They challenged official narratives. And after years of resistance, the state of Texas finally installed a historical marker in 2016. It was the first formal acknowledgement of what happened in Slocum. Even then, the marker listed only 8 victims, a reminder of how much remains unaccounted for.
I just never thought this day was going to come because my dad, my uncle had their request denied, and ER Bills and I faced a lot of adversity along the way to make this day happen. I'm proud to be paying respect to those who died in the massacre, and for me, on a personal note, that marker is just a reflection of the legacy that my great-great-grandfather left me, and that was that of tenacity, stick-with-itness, and I stuck with it, and it happened.
Slocum was not an isolated event. It was part of a broader pattern of racial terror across the United States, violence used to enforce hierarchy and seize land. The massacre reshaped who lived here, who owned property, and whose stories were allowed to survive. Remembering Slocum is not about reopening old wounds. It is about acknowledging truth. This history was buried, but it was never gone. And telling it now is not an act of blame. It is an act of responsibility. If you want more hidden history brought to light, subscribe, share this video, and drop a comment below. Thank you for watching.